Wraz z końcem października roku 2018 w Watykanie zakończył się kolejny synod zwołany przez papieża Franciszka. Tym razem był to synod dotyczący młodzieży, tak zwany synod młodych. Ale to zgromadzenie biskupów przebiegało w atmosferze skandalu. Zaczynało się w atmosferze skandalu, ponieważ tuż przed rozpoczęciem synodu ujawniono wielki skandal nadużyć seksualnych w amerykańskim kościele. Jest jeszcze jedna sprawa, która mogła rzucać się cieniem na ten synod, mianowicie wstrząsające listy arcybiskupa Vigano. Arcybiskup Vigano, były nuncjusz apostolski właśnie w Stanach Zjednoczonych, ujawnił skalę homoseksualnego lobby infiltrującego Kościół i część duchowieństwa. Cóż, przyznają Państwo, że w takim kontekście i w takiej atmosferze przeprowadzanie synodu do spraw młodzieży mogło być szczególnie kłopotliwe.
Świadectwo arcybiskupa Carlo Vigano wstrząsnęło Kościołem. Przede wszystkim Kościołem amerykańskim, który był głównym teatrem skandalu, ale także Kościołem powszechnym, a w tym oczywiście Watykanem. To był grom z jasnego nieba. Pozwolą Państwo, że zacytuję fragment z broszury zawierającej wszystkie świadectwa arcybiskupa Vigano, opublikowanej nakładem portalu PCH24. Należy obwieścić czas nawrócenia i pokuty. Należy przywrócić cnotę czystości wśród duchowieństwa i w seminariach. Należy walczyć z korupcją w postaci niewłaściwego wykorzystania środków i ofiar wiernych. Należy potępić wagę homoseksualnego zachowania. Siatki homoseksualne obecne w Kościele muszą zostać wyplenione. I jeszcze jeden krótki fragment. Błagam wszystkich, w szczególności biskupów, by zabrali głos, aby zwalczyć ten spisek milczenia, który jest tak powszechny, i donosić o przypadkach nadużyć, o których wiedzą, do mediów i władz cywilnych.
God bless Archbishop Vigano. He, you rarely do you see the lifting of the veil and see what goes on behind the workings of the church. And because the church is established by the Son of God, so it is the number one target of the devil, of Satan. So they want to get in there and make things bad, and he does often. So Archbishop Vigano lifts that veil, and we get to look, and you get to see through his, he had an attack of conscience or a concern of conscience. Said, I'm an old man, I have to clear my conscience before I die. Here's all the evil that has been going on. And he suffers for that now. The things he has said in all of these testimonies essentially boils down to there is a homosexual current in the church, in the Vatican, and all over the Western world, and much of what goes on can be laid at the feet of that current. And then he names all those names. Lots of names, big names.
Publikacja listów o takiej treści musiała rzeczywiście wstrząsnąć nie tylko Kościołem w Stanach Zjednoczonych, ale i Kościołem na całym świecie. Jak więc zareagowano w Watykanie?
Well, it's hard to say at the moment, but certainly ripples have been felt. They haven't ignored it, or they've tried to, but they can't, because he keeps bringing out a new testimony. So, and he's drawing attention to this issue, which has been a constant issue as long as I've been here. This problem of a homosexual lobby or a certain mafia type group, which is keeping control of the Vatican and really having a negative impact on the way the church is run. And I think Archbishop Vigano just wanted to draw attention to that, because nobody else was, and nobody else really was going to speak out in a strong way, and he found this opportunity to do that. But yes, I think this is something that's going to continue, and I think how the Vatican's going to respond, I don't know, but they're going to keep. I think they're going to try to respond in another way, probably not another letter from Cardinal Ouellet, but something else. But as somebody pointed out, an interesting point, that it's not what they're saying, but it's what they're not saying, and that there hasn't been much defense of Pope Francis. I mean, Archbishop Vigano called for his resignation. Nobody hardly anyone came out and said, this is you can't say this, And I think there's quite an interest in how the silence that you've heard from Vatican officials about this, and they're not coming out for it, but they're not also coming out against it, and that's an interesting point, I think. And you have to ask why not? Why aren't they speaking up? Why aren't they on either side?
The way Jesus Christ would react, which is to announce the truth. All of these people who like the silence and be very quiet and low key, these are the same people that present a picture of our blessed Lord as being weak, as being very, if you have the expression in Poland, milquetoast, very soppy and this is God we're talking about. God is not weak. He's omnipotent. He's almighty. So the response of the church, which is what we're seeing, that Archbishop Vigano is the appropriate response of the church. The good Catholic media here in Poland is the response of the church. Tell the truth. Tell it.
Wśród przyczyn tych nadużyć seksualnych wielu biskupów, duchownych, obserwatorów, watykanistów wymieniało klerykalizm. Nie do końca definiując, co to jest. Mało kto reagował tak odważnie i tak wprost, mówiąc, że winny skandali wśród homoseksualistów, skoro większość nadużyć seksualnych dotyczy mężczyzn i młodych chłopców, winny jest po prostu homoseksualizm i kultura homoseksualna, która niestety przedostała się przez jakąś szczelinę do kościoła.
Agree completely with him. There's no question that the majority of the acts which have been committed are homosexual acts done with young men, and somehow in the church this kind of egregious moral fault has been protected and in some way even promoted. And so we have to address the fact that there are priests who have these tendencies and are acting upon them. What happens is when you say this, people, it's happened to me personally, people say, you're saying that people with same-sex attraction are always abusing children. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the priests who have abused children have done it by way of homosexual acts with young men, and this means that the moral character of our seminarians and priests in some way is not what it should be.
Sprawa arcybiskupa Vigano jest na tyle poważna, że wywarła wpływ nie tylko na synod w Watykanie, nie tylko na politykę medialną Watykanu, ale także na życie samego arcybiskupa. Otóż po raz pierwszy od wielu lat katolicki biskup musi się ukrywać. Arcybiskup Vigano w tej chwili ukrywa się. Nie wiemy, gdzie jest.
I think he's actually afraid of the vindictiveness of the people that he's mentioned, and particularly the homosexual groups. I think he feels that he could be in danger because of that. But I think he also just wants to stay away from the spotlight in order just to let his words have their reaction and be received, and then possibly come out to the public at a later date. So it's partly, I think, for his own safety, but also it's a strategic thing, I think, for him. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's the way he thinks.
Publikacja listów arcybiskupa Vigano tuż przed synodem do spraw młodzieży oczywiście nie była przypadkiem. Na synodzie tym chciano bowiem dyskutować o orientacji homoseksualnej, a do dokumentu roboczego synodu, tak zwanego Instrumentum Laboris, po raz pierwszy w historii dokumentów kościelnych wpisano akronim LGBT.
Przygotowując się do synodu, czytałem jego dokument roboczy Instrumentum Laboris. Trudna to lektura. Napisana żargonem współczesnej socjologii, czy też, żeby użyć języka bardziej biblijnego, pełna wielomówstwa. I oto w akapicie 197 natykam się na takie sformułowanie. Niektórzy młodzi LGBT poprzez różne uwagi przesłane do Sekretariatu Generalnego Synodu pragną przyczynić się do większej bliskości. I doświadczyć większej troski ze strony Kościoła, podczas gdy niektóre konferencje episkopatu zastanawiają się, co zaproponować młodym ludziom, którzy zamiast tworzenia par heteroseksualnych decydują się na tworzenie par homoseksualnych, a przede wszystkim chcą być blisko Kościoła. Termin LGBT to emblemat środowisk homoseksualnych. To symbol, którym chcą one, aby się posługiwano na całym świecie. I jak to się stało, że ten właśnie sztandarowy emblemat wrogiego Kościołowi środowiska znalazł się w oficjalnym języku dokumentów Kościoła?
Because the people behind it don't believe the faith. They don't have supernatural faith. They see the church as a human instrument that on a personal level belongs to them, and that they can use all the power of the church to bring about social change and cultural change that they want.
I think it's been mainly written by Father Giacomo Costa, who's a Brazilian Jesuit. I think he was one of the key drafters of the Instrumentum Laboris, the working document, and I think they put that in because it was mentioned in the pre-synodal, not in the pre-synodal meetings, but it was mentioned in some of the contributions from bishops' conferences around the world. I think probably Italy particularly, and so they felt, well, we need to put that in to reflect what we've heard from these questionnaires that they sent out and these various things that they did to try and get the views of young people. So that's how that found its way into the document.
No, it's completely inappropriate. First of all, this terminology comes from an aggressive homosexual lobby. It comes from a group who do not accept the Church's teaching with regard to chastity, with regard to sexual morality, with regard to homosexual acts. And it's a group which is aggressive in the sense that it seeks to influence very strongly our children and young people and can lead them into a great confusion. And so this type of language should never be in a church document, and the church must be very careful not to identify with this movement. I go back to what I said before, the church loves all people, even those who can be aggressive in promoting evil, but at the same time, because of her love for those people, she is also militant in teaching the truth about our own human sexuality and the appropriate ways in which it expresses itself.
But it's also controversial because they're using a loaded acronym, LGBT, which is used by the homosexual lobby. It's not by homosexuals so much as though they use it. It's primarily used by the lobby to get their agenda through these institutions, whether it's the UN, the church, or whatever. So the concern is that this is just the latest example of trying to achieve their goal, which is basically to normalize homosexual relations within the church, and that of course is not acceptable for any Catholic who follows church teaching.
I think when you look at, if you go back to 2014, the extraordinary Synod on the Family, and then there was part two, the ordinary Synod on the Family, 2014, 2015. In 2014, there came that paragraph number 50 in the midterm relatio on October 13th, is when it was released, 2014, and it said right there, homosexuals have gifts and qualities to give to the church. That was the beginning of what we see now 3 years later. And they defended it and kind of laughed it off like it wasn't really that big of a deal. And, I asked Archbishop Forte specifically, so what are you saying here? And he goes, oh, I just mean we must be nice to everyone. Well, then why didn't you write that? This was the setup for what we have here. When you have men in the church, and all sorts of involvement, homosexuals, socialists, Freemasons, all over the church in key positions, they're all working together to bring about the downfall of the church, because they don't want to get rid of the church, because the church has all kinds of wealth and it can be instrumentalized, it can be weaponized. So you don't want to get rid of it, you want to convert it to something that you can use for your own evil end. And that's what they've been doing. So they dropped that LGBT into paragraph 197 of the Instrumentum Laboris back in June. And one of the reporters asked Cardinal Baldisseri, Lorenzo Baldisseri, hey, well, what's that doing? And he goes, oh, that was in one of the earlier working documents. And so it just kind of fell in. Words don't jump off the page themselves. Somebody put it in. And then they found out that was actually a lie. And they confronted him on it. And he said what Pope Francis said, I'm not going to say anything. And there it was in the Instrumentum Laboris.
Warto podkreślić, że świadectwa arcybiskupa Vigano stały się swoistym kijem włożonym w szprychy mechanizmu tworzonego przez środowiska modernistyczne w Kościele, pragnące od dłuższego już czasu doprowadzić do zmiany tradycyjnego nauczania moralnego Kościoła.
Nobody really cares about how a car gets built, you just want the car. Well, the automobile, same thing here. Nobody cares about all the groups and all you care about is what's that final document say, because that's the point. That final document was supposed to be a big pro-gay, the church, embraces homosexuality, maybe we need to talk about changing the words of the catechism. That's what this was supposed to be. But between June 19th, when the Instrumentum Laboris happened, the next day was when the Cardinal McCarrick news broke, and there has been nothing but a hurricane of all of this news and information, and I think it got too overwhelming for them.
Przez pierwsze dni trwania synodu relacje medialne były właśnie takie. Mówiły o tym, że mówi się o LGBT, mówiły o tym, że mówi się o innych orientacjach seksualnych, że mówi się o homoseksualizmie, że mówi się o przeżywaniu swojej tożsamości płciowej. Na jednej z konferencji prasowych zapytano biskupów, czy ktoś w ogóle młodych ludzi uczy tutaj o nauczaniu moralnym Kościoła. Przypomina im to, cóż można więcej zrobić dla młodych ludzi, niż powiedzieć im, jak żyć w zgodzie z nauczaniem moralnym Kościoła. Reakcja biskupów była co najmniej zaskakująca.
The church's moral teaching seems to have hardly been mentioned. Virtues have been mentioned, but morality or the church's moral teaching seems to barely come up except in a negative sense, usually focusing on moralism, which is something else, of course. I just wondered, why has there been a seeming reluctance to discuss the moral teachings of the church when many believe it's crucial, especially for young people's formation?
Well, in my group, it was discussed.
Podczas tego synodu uczestniczyłem w licznych konferencjach prasowych i dziwna sprawa, w tych konferencjach prasowych oraz w różnych wypowiedziach uczestników synodu pojawia się jeden motyw. Oni wszyscy chcą się uczyć od młodych. Biskupi, kardynałowie, hierarchowie, osoby pełniące urząd nauczycielski chcą się uczyć od młodych. No to wyraźne pomieszanie pojęć, to wyraźne przestawienie pozycji. Eklezja docens i eklezja discens. Jest Kościół nauczający i Kościół uczący się. Co wyjdzie z sytuacji pomieszania tych dwóch kościołów? Kiedy Kościół uczący się zacznie uczyć Kościół nauczający.
Di tutti che ho vissuto.
This particular synod on the youth has been for me just like the other synods, but in a unique way, like a school. I'm learning a lot.
The synod that we have just lived in, as still living in the last hours, has been an exceptional experience.
This is my 6th synod, and I feel the most relaxed now because as president delegate, you are not put in any group. You can go in any group and you can come out to any group. And so I enjoy the whole synod with my freedom and liberty here in the synod.
Eccellente ambiente, serio, ascolto.
That's a completely mistaken idea. Yes, we need to listen to the young people in order to understand what are the challenges which they are facing. But the young people have a right to hear from us, from the church, from their pastors, from their parents, from those of us who are adults. They have the right to hear from us the truth, so that they can order their lives accordingly. And the young people I meet, what they want most of all is that the church teach clearly and strongly, and they're not interested in all of this kind of approach that where everyone feels good and every young person's idea, no matter what it is has the same weight as, for instance, the word of Christ himself. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Za moimi plecami znajduje się Centrum Konferencyjne Watykanu, tak zwana Sala Stampa, znana Państwu z wielu przekazów telewizyjnych, również i z naszych przekazów. Podczas konferencji na tej sali, kiedy przychodzili na nią biskupi w czasie trwania tego synodu, dowiadywaliśmy się o tym, o czym rozmawia się w grupach językowych na synodzie. I tak słyszeliśmy, że mówi się o migrantach, o ekologii, mówi się o ekonomii, mówi się o szczęśliwym życiu, mówi się o iPhone'ach, mówi się o nowych mediach, mówi się o tym, jak być szczęśliwym, jak żyć w tolerancji. A co, zapytają Państwo, z Jezusem Chrystusem? Co z 10 przykazań? Co z prawdami wiary? Co z grzechami głównymi? Co z uczynkami miłosierdzia względem ciała czy duszy? Cóż, o tym zbyt wiele mowy nie było.
What you see in the synod is quite a good snapshot of what the church, particularly in the West, is like. I mean, there's hardly ever talk of salvation. This was what was very interesting about Archbishop Vigano's latest testimony. He talks about these things which we never hear, like salvation and judgment, and be concerned and sin, exactly. And it's just never mentioned. And I think the synod has been criticised for that. There was a letter by Australian young people, a group of Australian young people who said, we want unambiguous truth, we want the church's teaching, we don't want what they call superficial banalities, we want, and they say, make a very good point that, how can we help shape the church unless you shape us first, unless you teach us the faith. And the teaching element of the faith, I think people feel has been lost, that people aren't being taught by their bishops and by their priests the faith in its clearest form, and it is very clear.
The church is mater et magister, mother and teacher. The church can't abandon the role as teacher. The church is Jesus on earth. That's what it is. It is so closely bound to him that it is him here on earth. And Jesus does not give up his role as teacher so he can listen to people. Sure, you listen to people, that's fine. You know, on a certain level, in a certain sense, there's nothing wrong with that. I think leaders should listen to people, but you don't change the teaching of Almighty God because somebody told you they don't like it.
A może synod młodych nie był do końca synodem o młodzieży, albo nie wyłącznie synodem o młodzieży, bo czy przez 3 tygodnie rzeczywiście można dyskutować wyłącznie o problemach młodych ludzi? Część wpływowych watykanistów, część doświadczonych dziennikarzy twierdzi, że w tym synodzie chodziło również o to, aby synod trwał, aby synod był permanentny, aby synod pokazał drogę synodalizacji Kościoła, drogę synodalności, która ma być drogą demokratyzacji, a może i parlamentaryzacji Kościoła.
Rozmawiając o synodzie na temat młodzieży, nie możemy jednakowoż zapomnieć o Konstytucji Apostolskiej Episcopalis Communio, opublikowanej tuż przed rozpoczęciem obrad synodalnych. Dokument ten wprowadza pojęcie synodalności jako regularnego narzędzia administrowania Kościołem.
Pope Francis himself has said earlier, that he wants to have the church more synodal, different groups kind of settling theological matters or doctrinal matters, and that's not how the church works. Peter is in charge of the church. That's the way our Lord set it up. So Peter's in charge of the church. He doesn't get to say, well, hey, you 3 apostles over there, what do you think about Holy Communion? And they decide, well, it's not Jesus. And Peter's like, okay, that's not how it works. So there is this great push, and but what's funny here is the making sure that LGBT does not, those letters do not show up in the final document. Well, how did that happen? The head of the church. That wasn't a collective decision. The head of the church said no. So I'm not sure how you push for group parliamentary decision making when the head steps in and says no. He just undid what he said he wanted to do.
I think it is. I said earlier that I didn't think there was much manipulation going on in the synod, but in a sense there doesn't need to be, because you've got this democratization and you've got these ideas coming in a democratic way, and these agendas. So in a sense there's a feeling, I think, that they don't need to manipulate because this democratization is doing the work for them in a sense. That's one view. Another view is that it's a good thing because it's bringing a bottom-up approach. It's getting people listening to people so you can hear what they're saying and then apply that to the church's teaching, or the church's teaching applied to those situations in a new way, and and that can help pastorally those who are pastors in the church. But I think there's a whole there's a lot of concern about this, though, this idea of synodality, which has largely comes from Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini, who was considered very heterodox in many ways, and I think people are concerned that this is a way to, it's becoming a vehicle for heterodoxy to come into the church in a more streamlined and acceptable and official way.
Yes, in fact, it can easily lead to a situation of national churches and a kind of very Protestant approach to the body of Christ, in the sense that any little group who has a certain approach to the teachings and discipline of the church has its own integrity, and there's no longer any unity for which our Lord constituted St. Peter as the head of the Apostolic College. The See of Peter is the foundation, the principal foundation and defense of the unity of the bishops and of the faithful. And the Catholic Church has never been able to countenance national churches, and we have examples of it in Gallicanism and Josephinism and so forth, and it's always been to the harm of the body of Christ. And so we need to have today more than ever an appreciation for the primacy of Peter and of the See of Peter. And there are two areas in particular that I would like to underline, and they were underlined at the time of the reform of the Church's discipline, her code of canon law, and that is the sacred liturgy. That the sacred liturgy, because it is Christ himself who's coming to act on our behalf to give us grace through the sacraments, that has to be governed universally. We can't have the possibility that some people are celebrating the Eucharist according to true Catholic faith, and others are celebrating it with, let's say, an idea inimical to that faith. The other area is the Church's discipline, especially her procedural law. The processes that are used in the Church to safeguard sacred realities and to correct abuses have to be uniform throughout the whole Church. And so I view this with a great deal of concern. And the notion of synods has always existed in the Church, but the synod was a tool used by a bishop, an archbishop, to see how better to teach the faith and how better to apply the Church's discipline. It was never seen as a body that was creating new teaching or a body that was creating a new discipline. And so there's a fundamental misunderstanding here that needs to be corrected.
That's not how Christ set up the church. That's not how you arrive at truth. You don't arrive at truth by a vote. You arrive at truth by its intrinsic, by its nature, by its very intrinsic value of it is truth. You know, we didn't decide Jesus is God. He is God. And he tells us, and then we tell the people. And that's how it works.
The reason why the church is hierarchical is because it's constituted by God. The constitution of the church is given to us by our Lord himself, and this is a divine gift. And so we can't pretend that we're going to reconstitute the church by some kind of constitutional assembly or by some kind of human project, but we have to conform ourselves to the will of God and safeguard and promote the hierarchical nature of the church. And that's the way for us to go.
Wydajemy się stać na rozdrożu. Kościół wydaje się stać na rozdrożu. Kościół niestety się zmienia. Ale Ecclesia semper reformanda. Kościół jest samonaprawiającym się mechanizmem, konserwowanym przez Ducha Świętego. A Pan Bóg z każdego zła zmajstrowanego przez ludzi potrafi wyciągnąć dobro. Bramy piekielne Kościoła nie przemogą. To zapowiedział jego boski założyciel. Więcej nawet, powiedział, że On będzie z nami, z Kościołem, aż do skończenia świata. A jego wierny uczeń, święty Paweł, dopowiada: jeżeli Bóg z nami, to wszyscy inni się nie liczą. To któż przeciw nam?
Ostatecznie w dokumencie końcowym synodu znalazło się wiele zapisów dotyczących synodalności. Część ojców synodalnych chciało odrzucenia tych zapisów, dlatego że prawdopodobnie otrzymali treść tych zapisów tuż przed głosowaniem. Nie rozmawiali wcześniej o synodalności. Ta treść została im narzucona. W dokumencie nie znalazła się w końcu kwestia osób LGBT. Znalazło się towarzyszenie osobom homoseksualnym na podstawie dotychczasowych dokumentów i katechizmu Kościoła. Znalazła się kwestia otwarcia większego Kościoła na kobiety, bo być może według niektórych jest zamknięty. Kwestia odważnego nawrócenia kulturowego w tej właśnie sprawie kobiet. Znalazło się również odniesienie do instrumentum laboris, co przez niektórych interpretowane jest jako możliwość włączenia również instrumentum laboris do nauczania zwyczajnego Kościoła, ale w tej sprawie musi osobiście wypowiedzieć się jeszcze Ojciec Święty. Jedno jest pewne, synod do spraw młodzieży był również synodem do spraw synodalności. Młodych ludzi w Watykanie słuchano i biskupi stwierdzili, że wszyscy powinniśmy teraz jako Kościół słuchać młodych ludzi, a synodalność ma trwać. Po zakończeniu synodu mamy rozjechać się do swoich krajów, do swoich diecezji i parafii i tam nadal prowadzić proces synodalny. Co to będzie oznaczało? Jak będzie to wyglądało? Będziemy to dla Państwa wszystko oczywiście relacjonować. Byliśmy tu z Państwem przez tydzień w Rzymie, byliśmy tu dla Państwa i dzięki Państwu. Bez Państwa wsparcia nie moglibyśmy nagrywać tych materiałów, pisać tekstów, rozmawiać z ciekawymi ludźmi, biskupami, księżmi, watykanistami. Dziękujemy za to i prosimy o wsparcie w przyszłości.